BBI, the Building Bridges Initiative. It was initiated by President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga on March 9, 2018 after the two resolved to bury their political differences. This document was initiated to evaluate challenges hindering the creation of a united Kenya and was also tasked to provide solutions to ethnic antagonism and competition, lack of national ethos, inclusivity, corruption and divisive elections. Not yet adopted, this document has skyrocketed political temperatures in the country, with some drumming up support for it and others opposing it.
Kama tunapenda nchi yetu, jameni, tuweke ambition zetu chini kidogo, na sio kusema ya kwamba tunapinga mtu yeyote. Tunasema tunataka Wakenya wote wakuje pamoja, tufanye yale ambayo italetea kila Mkenya haki pahali popote alipo.
How did we end up with a document that has so many gaps after a whole 2 years, that so many people have issues with it?
Among the BBI proposals is that the president can appoint the prime minister and still fires him. Number 2, the wealth declaration forms should be open for public scrutiny. And number 3, public servants to be deterred from conducting business with the government. Powers to have 2 deputies, governor and his deputy to be of opposite sex, IPOA elevated to be an independent commission, DPP to be an independent office, terror victims trust to be set up, political parties to access cash on basis of how inclusive they are, court cases involving corruption to end at most in 2 years, full gender parity in the Senate, meaning the number of senators will be increased, youth commission to be established, office of the independent judiciary ombudsman to be established, help loan to be paid after a grace period of 4 years and after getting a job, abolishing the position of women rep in the 47 counties, increase the number of MPs from the current 349 to 360. But even before the public perused through the document, it is apparent that the document is not unifying. Some think that the BBI report is a shortcut for Raila Odinga to ascend into power, while others think that this document will solve Kenyan problems. Deputy President poked holes with the proposal of setting up the office of the independent judiciary ombudsman in front of his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta.
That question can also be asked in reverse. How did we end up with a document that has so many gaps after a whole 2 years, that so many people have issues with it?
President Uhuru Kenyatta is pushing for the national government to completely take over Nairobi County core functions through the Building Bridges Initiative. This means that some functions from Nairobi, namely health, transport, planning, public works and firefighting services, disaster management, will be transferred to the national government. With the document having been unveiled, it's up to Kenyans to cautiously go through the document before approving and disapproving it.
My memo tonight is about reading and understanding. The Building Bridges Initiative BBI report is finally out, and some people across the country say they have already read it or are planning to peruse through it. I have gone through the summary of the document and seen that within it are some very important recommendations which may affect you, the voter. That is why calls from political leaders for watu wasome kisha waelewe whether sincere or not are important. But with our recent history, those calls must be taken with a pinch of salt. After all, someone once said that in politics there are no permanent friends or enemies, just permanent interests. So when we hear them saying watu wasome waelewe kisha waamue, we don't buy it wholesale. But whatever our thoughts, we need to understand what the report contains, not just for ourselves, but for future generations who will have to live with the consequences of our actions, whether we read or not. Let me start with this tired line that fulani amenisomea, hakuna haja mimi nijisomee. This statement, ladies and gentlemen, sits at the heart of what ails our politics. How can you, as an adult with 32 teeth, a functional brain, and perhaps some measure of literacy, say that a politician has read something and so you won't read it for yourself? In case you've forgotten, these are the very politicians who promise heaven when seeking your votes, only for them to deliver a fearsome hell full of unemployment, corruption, tribalism, and generally misery. These are the same politicians who tell us to fight only for them to shake hands the following day. These are the same politicians who say everything they have no intention of doing and pass laws they have no intention of following. Why would you believe a word of what they will tell you about BBI, for example? Ladies and gentlemen, we need to read so that we are not hoodwinked by the politicians' interpretations. Haven't you noticed that already some of them are telling us the document will require a referendum, while others insisted it can all be sorted out in Parliament? In 2010, many Kenyans did not read the document that would later become the constitution of the land, but they happily trooped to the polling stations to reject or approve its contents merely on the strength of what the politicians said. That ship sailed, and the constitution is now 9 years old. We have all owned it. It is affecting our lives, all of us, those who read and those who did not. That is why this time around we need to know exactly what we are getting ourselves into. In my opinion, the first chapter of the BBI report does a splendid job of outlining our challenges and their root causes. The question now is, are the proposed solutions contained therein what we truly need? There's only one way of finding out: reading the document. And that's my message.
Kagunda Kelvin, Tonight Edition.